Hello and welcome to the training log for the week of May 1st, 2023. My shoulder continues to heal. Some ranges are obviously stronger than others, but everything is coming back pretty nicely. At this point, it's hard to tell how much weakness is from damage versus just having had the muscles and ligaments stretched out, or if it's just been from disuse for the last 6 weeks, which is entirely possible. Recovery is good, but it's also a little bit slower. I had obviously a very fast initial recovery, but the pace has slowed down a little bit, which is to be expected. The initial healing is obviously going to be the fastest, and then the long-term healing is going to take a bit longer. But it is what it is. I don't have that many reminders of how much weaker my right arm is right now, mostly because I've been training around that, but every once in a while I'll have something like that bench where it just kind of comes up and hits me in the face. But I've been largely training in a way that works around the issue or works with it, so not nearly as big of an impact, or at least mentally, as I thought it would be. Most of my upper body work still looks like this, unilateral work using more weight on my left side and whatever weight I can get away with on my right. It's been working pretty well. There's a lot of ways to train just about every movement unilaterally, particularly with some of the machines I have available at the commercial gym, so I haven't felt like it was hard to train any part of my body because I can't do a bilateral compound movement, for instance. But for every failure like the bench press, there are victories like the slog press. This is 175 pounds, which is still well below what I could do pre-injury, but a lot more than I thought I was going to do when I started loading the weight. I was hoping to just get some reps in with the empty log, but it kept feeling all right, and I kept going, and I got up to 175, which I probably not going to be strong enough to do the actual press at Strongman competition in a few months, but still much better than I was expecting. This is just one example of workaround for the weak arm that I figured out this week that I really like. Sorry for the bad angle, can't really see what's happening, but that is my left side with a much heavier weight than my right side because obviously it's uninjured, but I'm holding the right side up at essentially lockout, so my right side is contracted. So at the top I'm contracting both pecs, so it's similar to the end of a bilateral movement, and it says the added benefit of I'm going to go immediately into repping out the right side after I finish repping out the left. So my chest is already pre-fatigued from that hold. So even though I'm using a lighter weight that is limited by my shoulder joint, I'm getting a better overall workout for my chest. So this is just kind of one way you can work around one injury to not be fully limited for non-injury areas. Moving on, we have some of the strongman training this week. I am back to the squats, which I got, I want to say, 19 or 20 reps here, which is better than last week, but I also went back and read the full rules, and they're going to have, in addition to the down command, they're going to have an up command, so I'm not sure to what degree you can touch and go like this. I'm just going to kind of bitch for a moment. That, well, besides being bad for me because I'm very much a touch and go kind of movement person, is just kind of dumb because the weight is very low, and anyone who's even remotely competitive is going to be repping out the whole time. So at a certain point, the winner is going to be determined not by who is strongest, but by whoever has the judge that is the fastest on their reflex time and in the best mood. Because if they have to wait to call the up and the down, that's a lot of time that's just kind of being eaten up by those commands and not by how strong you are. Because this weight is so low and everyone's repping the entire time, that's kind of the limiting factor, not actually strength. So it might work out better in the actual competition, and honestly, it's not that big a deal because that's super fun, but I didn't particularly like that ruling. So I think I'm going to try to at least train these when my brother's around, so maybe he can give me up and down commands, because right now I also don't think I'm touching all four corners when I'm going down, so I don't know how harsh they're going to be on judging that, so I'll play with it. Anyways, this is the yoke run into sled pull, and the yoke is feeling better. That grip shirt really is a game changer, and getting more practice on the yoke runs has me moving, if not much faster, at least with much more confidence. I think I can still get those times down if I practice it more, which should be easy because honestly that weight isn't super fatiguing and the sled pull is kind of trivial. Getting some extra yoke run practice with the walking it back because it has to come back anyways. I actually did tweak something in my glute back whatever area doing this, which is kind of silly considering all the stuff I do with my back. It's a fixed movement like that finally tweaks something, but hey, it is what it is, and it also stopped me from doing farmer's carries that day. I finally got around to playing around with benching the spider bar, which is something I wanted to do since I got it, but I thought my shoulder was going to get in the way, and honestly, the shoulder feels fine for this. It's relatively light loads, and if anything, the stabilization requirements might even be good for rehab. Probably not, but I can at least pretend, right? I might be the only person on the planet qualified to have an opinion of this, but I think that the spider bar is the most difficult bar to bench out of it, the Mars bar, the safety squat bar, the cambered squat bar, and the trap bar. So, if anyone's tried all of them and has a different opinion, let me know, but I don't think anyone has. The spider bar has a really strange center of gravity between the camber and the long arms, and there's just a lot going on that's kind of hard to guess. You have to kind of go by feel, so if you're at all interested in this, maybe start with the camber bar or one of the other bars and then work up to the spider bar. This is advanced nonsense balance benching. It's not beginner nonsense balance benching. But regardless of its difficulty, I was really glad I was able to do this. This is kind of another sign that even if my shoulder is not 100%, I can still do the things I want to do, at least most of them. And that's just a lesson I think you can take out. I've said it basically every week since I got injured, but don't fixate on what you can't do. Fixate on what you can do. There's probably a lot more that you can do than you think you can. I also finally got around to testing one of the last deadlifts from my A to Z deadlift challenge that I hadn't done yet. This is the yoke lift on the deadlift A to Z challenge. Although I prefer the hangman's deadlift, I think it sounds cooler. I managed to get this all the way up to 8 plates despite my back and despite the fact that that skinny rope did not feel great on the neck. And I've said this before, but I think it's just super neat kind of how high my deadlift floor has gone. I can do so many things with 8 plates, even so many things with 800 now. And knowing that I can do these things with these obscenely high weights makes me that much more confident when I get back to the quote-unquote real deadlifts where I have actual advantage and not limiting myself somehow. And I feel very confident whenever I get around to testing a max on like conventional, it's going to be pretty high. That's all I got for now. I will see you all next week.